So this week started off a bit sadder than usual. Unfortunately, all of the Uprising boxes that were supposed to be in the UK have been stuck at customs, and all of our pre-releases have been delayed. And even though the thought of all of those border patrol officers drafting Uprising and having a good time has got me down, my spirits were lifted when last night James White appeared on the latest episode of the Instant Speed podcast to give us the name of the next Flesh and Blood set after Uprising. So let's have a quick discussion and see what could possibly appear in Flesh and Blood Dynasty. But before we get into the video, please consider subscribing. I make a whole ton of Flesh and Blood videos, so if you want to stay up to date with the world of Flesh and Blood, make sure to hit that little subscribe button. Anyways, let's get into the video. So on the latest episode of the Instant Speed podcast, James White appeared and talked about a whole range of topics. I'll be sure to put the link down in the description so you can go and check out the entire podcast, and I would highly recommend that you do so. It was full of upcoming stuff. It was full of stuff to do with the Pro Tour, competitive stuff, lore stuff. It was fantastic. It was such a really fun listen at just over an hour long. But at the very end of the podcast, we got a nugget of wisdom dropped on us. The name of the next Flesh and Blood set is going to be Flesh and Blood Dynasty. Now, the actual thing that James White said about this was that he wanted to integrate story into product releases more, and that he believes that this current block of products is the best immersion of lore into gameplay and product releases yet. So let's explore and see exactly what Dynasty could mean for the current storyline of Flesh and Blood. Now, I'm just putting this out there are people out there who are way bigger lore heads than me. I follow the lore. I really enjoy diving into the lore and trying to find like different characters and things like that, and there's so much I'm looking forward to. But if anyone out there knows more about the lore than me and wants to chip in some ideas and some discussion on the topic, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. So thinking back to how product names tie into the whole lore of Flesh and Blood, at the start we had Welcome to Wrath. It was named thusly because we were being welcomed to the world of Wrath. Next we had Arcane Rising. Arcane Rising introduced us to Runeblades. Then we had Crucible of War, lots of toys for all the different heroes and buffs for Runeblades. Then we had Monarch, where we got Emo Runeblades, Tales of Aria, where we got Flower Runeblades, and Everfest, where Runeblades could party with lots of new support and cards and goodies that they got from there. And Uprising, meaning the uprising of different heroes who are not Runeblades. But all joking aside, the main storyline around Uprising revolves around Iyslander making her way to Volcor to try and unlock these memories hidden from her past, and also FaB and Dromai, the brother and sister who are uprising, in order to fight against the imperial oppression from the Volcor people on top of the mountain. So I think that this is where the key lies here. If we explore more of how the story of Uprising is kind of put together in the product, we can see then maybe where Dynasty is going to go. So if we take a look at Iyslander's hero page, we can see that there's a Calm Before the Storm article that hasn't been shown yet. Crazy. Wonder what that's going to be about. And also on FaB and Dromai's hero pages, we can see that there's other articles that haven't been unlocked yet that'll further give us more story and what's going on. But mainly the lore is integrated into this set from the FaB and Dromai like Volcorian perspective, based on the idea of the Phoenix Rising, working with Ash, the whole idea that Volcor is a big giant mountain and it erupts and it can completely wipe out entire cities from down below, and so the people who live there are very good at rebuilding from the ashes, kind of like a phoenix. See what they did there? And FaB's hero page even mentions that the Volkai may be regularly beaten and burned by the imperial oppressor. And so I think that this is where Dynasty is gonna step in and kind of continue that story. I think that there's a really good chance that we may stay in Volcor. Who knows? We may move to the top of Volcor and up into the actual courts. Whenever we read through the story of Volcor, we can see that it's kind of split into two parts. We've got like the lore part where all of this fighting and uprising and oppression and bad things that happen with lava all take place. But in the top of Volcor, in the courts, we know that it's kind of a more hushed process. There's a lot of whispers. That's how deals get made, and mistakes can bring down an entire family lineage. And this idea of lineage in the upper parts of Volcor, I think, is what's going to play into the lore of Dynasty. So from looking at the geography of the world of Rife, we can see that Volcor is kind of down below Solana, and so maybe there could be some Solanian influence into what happens in Dynasty. Me and my fiance did discuss the idea of having Brutes there because it is just east of the Savage Lands. However, I would think that Brutes would probably be more of a tribal thing than a Dynasty thing, so maybe that, I don't know, maybe there's something there that like Brutes wouldn't be included for that reason. And on the eastern side of Volcor, we can see Mysteria, and so the idea that we already have a ninja in there from FaB also leads me to believe that there may be something to do with the Crimson Haze in there. So the whole idea is that like a long time ago, way back in the oldie days, Ira started the Crimson Haze, and they have been doing Crimson Haze ninja things for like 100 years. And so that kind of sounds like it could be a dynasty. Also, Ira's brother had left her at the start whenever she first ran away and her story happened, and so maybe her brother has something to do with this, and her brother has like a long lineage that's now starting to kind of rear its head again, and like 100 years after all that stuff happened. So who knows? One thing that kind of leads me away from that is the fact that that would mean having extra ninjas, unless her brother is a ranger or something and isn't actually a ninja, or maybe the Crimson Haze aren't all ninjas and that they involve different classes. So that's something that we could see, considering like where Volcor is in the world. But also Volcor is northeast of the Demonastery, and you know what is in the Demonastery? That's where all the rune blades live, and I need my rune blade facts. We've had a set without rune blades. What is this? Welcome to Wrath. But one other thing that I was kind of thinking about as well that could be included here is another wizard. I know that, you know, having another wizard right after we had a wizard introduced kind of seems like not something that would make a lot of sense. However, we did have the emo rune blades and the flower rune blades one after the other, so I mean, it is possible. And being in Volcor, that's where all of the Ether Wizard people are, up on top of the mountain. So again, I think that having Iyslander completing her story, we don't need a new Iyslander since we have an Iyslander and all of her supporting cards in Uprising, but having the other side of that story, like the person that Iyslander is going to confront, I think that being able to play out like that battle, maybe we'll get a Classic Battles, who knows, we'll get like a Classic Battles 2.0, Iyslander versus Kano, star of the show. Oh my god, it's gonna be so much fun. That's something that could potentially happen. So personally, what I would like to see in the set, if we're sticking with like a 3-hero kind of design, because that seems like what we're doing lately, I would like to see another wizard, Kano, star of the show, as I mentioned. I would love to see a ranger or something like that, mainly because I want to play more Azalea, and I would like some more like base RO cards that have cool on-hit effect, but that's just me like wishlisting. And I would also like to see some kind of warrior. I mean, there is mention in the lore page for Volcor that in the courts of Volcor we have wizards, but we also have generals and things of that nature. So having like a draconic warrior might be something that could fit really well into the series and give us 3 kind of varying playstyles of ranger, wizard, and warrior. But who knows? I mean, it's all up in the air at the moment. We literally just have the name Dynasty and the fact that the lore is going to tie in. But I really enjoy how the lore of Flesh and Blood is tied into the products. I really enjoy exploring the lore through the flavor text on cards and through the lore on the website. And it's just, I felt the need to sit down today and talk about it and just share some of my excitement about the fact that we're gonna have this story arc that happens in Volcor because wizards and cool magic stuff in Flesh and Blood, yeah! But also, any fanboy on the side, if you like the idea of the current storyline that we're in, or if you know more about the lore than me, as I said, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I love talking about lore, I love chatting and having people keep me up to date on what's happening in the world of Wrath and things like that, and I also love reading all the stuff on the website, so if anybody wants to discuss lore or anything like that, please get in touch in the comments below. And also, I chat a lot about Flesh and Blood on Twitter as well, so if you don't want to leave a comment or you want to contact me a bit more directly than the YouTube comment section, you can always follow me on Twitter as well, and we can have a discussion about Flesh and Blood lore and why wizards and runeblades are awesome. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. I know I just kind of fanboyed over the next Flesh and Blood set name for like 5-10 minutes or whatever, who knows. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.